Hello, Modern Royalty Podcast Tribe. It's Princess Sarah Culberson. And on Tea Time today, I got to interview the incredible, the powerful, the beautiful Kylie Shea. She shares about her life as a professional dancer, a ballerina.
Classical ballet, I love it with all my heart. It's the foundation of everything that I do. Oh, but my body wants to do so much more. I was dancing full time from 9 to 5, and then I would go and work other jobs at night to support myself. You know, it's like I had to work to be able to do the work that I wanted to do.
You get to go on a journey from childhood to adulthood and learn about her ups and downs and her powerful finish and her dreams.
First jobs I booked was in Bruno Mars' music video, Gorilla.
Thank you for being here with me.
I won't scream into the mic first thing. Oh my gosh.
I'm really excited that you're here.
I couldn't be happier, and you represent the best of humanity, so it's really an honor to be here with you.
Thank you. Well, I think we're all mirrors of each other. So, yeah. Okay. We said we're not going to cry, and I'm already getting teary. We haven't even, that's all we said. The dance out.
Oh, yeah.
You know what's so amazing? I love how we met because I know your sister, Shea, and I had already followed you, just seeing you as a dancer online. And there was this Australian, I think she's Australian comedian.
Celeste. She just shared something 2 days ago from a video I did back in 2016. So anyways, continue.
Okay, we have to put that on so people can see that when we're sharing this episode. So you all have to check out Celeste.
Oh my gosh. She's
who
incredible.
Does kind of, what is it called that she does?
She'll take videos that were, you know, some are meant to be serious, some take them as you will, and then she parodies them. And so she's taken she's done me a couple of times, which ironically enough, I feel like people look at that and go, you've really made it.
Yes.
Now you've made it.
Celeste has made a video about you.
All these other things.
Oh my God. I love how she puts on like the leotard and tries to lift her leg as high as you do. I mean, it's because honestly, she's all of us, right? In some ways, like we all look at you and other dancers and go, wow, I wish I could do that. And then she puts on the leotard and like tries to do something you do. And it's just like, it's so great. She captures the essence that we all sometimes feel.
I love her so much.
She's great.
Yeah, she's
so great. But that's so interesting. So I followed her and saw her doing a parody about you, started following you. And then your sister had been my friend for a while. And then she said, oh, I want you to meet my sister. And she showed me your videos. And I'm like, wait a second, that's your sister? I've followed her for such a long time. So I'm glad that I've gotten to know you and that you're a friend and you're an amazing human. But I want to talk to you about your dance.
Okay.
How did you decide to do ballet? How did that come to be?
That's a great question. I think I popped out of the womb right away dancing and moving. So thank you, Mom, for dealing with that during her pregnancy. But I feel like I knew at a really young age. I started in gymnastics. My parents had put me in gymnastics because Shannon was doing gymnastics at the time also.
Oh, okay.
And I did not like it. Gymnastics was not for me. I knew at, 5 years old. I said, no, thank you. I'd like to do ballet. So I remember I started in ballet and I just connected with it right away. And I was doing tap and ballet for a little while. And then around 8 or 9, it started to get more serious. And they said, you have to pick one once I started training with my teacher. And so I chose ballet. And then the rest is history. And I knew my sophomore year of high school, I told my parents, I'm not going to take the SATs. I'm not going to take any of these honors and AP classes because I want to be a professional dancer, and that's where all of my focus needs to go. So I'm not going to be spending the extra time trying to apply to college or anything like that because I'm not going. So I'm telling you now.
How old were you?
Sophomore. So
you're a sophomore. Okay,
whatever age that was, 15, something around there.
Wow. So you knew at 15, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. And I said, now you have 3 years to, get with the program because this is what I'm doing no matter what anyone says. And yeah, I'm a Taurus. And so I'm very stubborn, and sometimes that's, not the best quality, but oftentimes it really helps when I make up my mind about something. But I think, I feel like we are all dancers, and many people will argue me about this, but at least knowing that I wanted to be a professional was something I knew forever.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, how did your parents take that? Were they like, wait a second, you have to go to college?
It definitely took some time, and there was some pushback, and I tried a little bit. I was still living in LA. I tried to take some classes at Santa Monica City College, and the only class that I really took consistently was ballet. So, I tried, and I just knew like my focus wasn't there. My heart wasn't in it. So I didn't want to waste my time or money in doing that. And education is so important. And I would love to still go back to college and get a psychology degree and further my education in that way. But for right now, dance has been the focus.
But you know what I think is you've probably had such an incredible experience with psychology being a dancer, because I know it's the psychology of dance and being a dancer and all the things that go with that, from teachers to your own development to your own challenges to overcome inside of being a dancer and working so hard to get where you are. Because I think dancers do not get the credit that you all deserve.
Thank you for saying that.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, I studied dance. I danced in a professional dance company for a while, but I did not do the type of dancing you did for as long as you've been dancing, and the work and the dedication that it takes. And then people often go, oh, well, go over there and sit and we'll get back to you, or you don't get paid what you deserve, or they don't understand that your body is an instrument.
Absolutely.
And it's precious and you must take care of it. You're a professional athlete, like the Olympians.
Thank you.
Right? That we're watching.
Oh my gosh.
The Summer Olympics. So, and now they have breakdance in the Olympics, which is interesting.
I know. I'm actually not quite sure how I feel about that yet. I'm excited to watch, and I'm so proud of all of those dancers. And I think I'm still wrapping my mind around dance being judged in that way. I mean, I know that dance competitions are a really big thing, especially for the kids. They have these beautiful conventions and competitions, which I love. Just the goals that promotes of having, your mindset on preparing for the competition, the stress management of competing, and then also, the growth through that process. But I think because dance is not a sport in that way, or we're not constantly competing with one another in that way, and it's a performing art, we don't get the respect as the elite athletes that we are. We spend our lives day in and day out of the studio, not just in ballet training, but, our dance training, but cross training and other things to stay strong. And we are still looked at. I think it's getting a little bit better now, but definitely the notion that dancers are athletes is not as common as I would love. So it's really important to me to help do my part in spreading that message. And actually, I think it was January 2023, I have this video on my red Bosu ball balance trainer, which has changed my life. The balance trainer really has been instrumental in my training, but I'm standing on releve on one leg, and I développé my leg to the side and take it up, and I do this little sequence. And that video got pretty good traction, I'd say, on social media.
I feel like most videos you do get about 1 million views or more. Yeah.
But that one did well, and the Olympics account actually reposted it.
Oh, really?
I think that was January 2023.
I think that this Olympics honoring dance could actually, and I hope, advance and have more respect for the dance world.
Absolutely.
I mean, people see dancers and go, wow, I wish I could do that. However, I think taking breakdancing into the Olympics can have people go, wow. So the Olympic team, or
the Olympic social media account, shared the video.
Wow.
And it was really interesting because I got a flood of messages and just different interactions from different people of all walks of life, just saying, respect. I have so much respect for what you do and the hours that you put in. And so that really was a beautiful moment, and really just ingrained in me the desire to want to do everything that I can to advocate for dancers to be treated correctly.
Yes.
I mean, I was a principal dancer in Seattle. I danced for Donald Byrd at Spectrum Dance Theater.
Because you studied classical ballet starting at age 8?
With my teacher.
With your teacher.
In Southern California.
And then shifted kind of into more would you call it modern style ballet?
Absolutely.
And what had you not want to
ballet.
go stay in classical, or what had you shift?
I love that question. Classical ballet, I love it with all my heart. It's the foundation of everything that I do, as is my teacher, and everything that she gave me. I've always felt like I wanted to do more, or I had more to express. And I love that I grew up having to find myself within the constraints of classical ballet, because, there's a syllabus, there's a technique, there's only so many positions that exist in the repertoire of classical ballet. And my body just always, I would do the things, but then, on my own time or at home, I'm like, oh, but my body wants to do so much more.
You don't want to stay so confined. I see.
And so my teacher would share, in structure, there's freedom. So that was something that she taught me from an early age that I think really I take with me till this day.
I love that. In structure, there's freedom. I agree with that completely.
So all that to say, she obviously bred me for a classical ballet company. And I feel like I knew deep down all along that was not my path. And so I ending up in Seattle, and it's a contemporary dance company, all barefoot. And Donald Byrd, he's an incredible, incredible man. I grew so much there, not only as a woman, but as an artist. But it was absolutely the most challenging work I have ever done to this day. Like, nothing holds a candle to that.
More than the traditional ballet?
Yeah. And I
Interesting.
think because his work was also so mental, like the subject matter that we were approaching, it wasn't just physical exhaustion. It was also really intense subject matter,
And telling stories.
Yeah, war, domestic violence, so many things. And so as you are executing this insane series of steps for 22 minutes, you're also delivering a story that is so emotionally intense, and the nature of his work is really brutal. There's nothing delicate about it usually. So, but I'm really grateful because that time gave me just a whole different backbone and frame of reference of what it means to work hard. So now, even in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and Magic Mike's Last Dance, Dancing in the Rain, which I will say, Dancing in the Rain, we'll talk about that later, but that was, if there's anything that ever rivaled the difficulty of dancing for Donald, it was that.
Wow.
But yeah, so I ended up in Seattle, and back to the original place where we got this, dancers being treated well. I feel like in the United States, in my experience, even just the care of recovery or physical therapy or massages or just the financial support for dancers isn't there. And, I was dancing full time from 9 to 5, and then I would go and work other jobs at night to support myself. So it was a constant, it's like I had to work to be able to do the work that I wanted to do.
Because the money you were getting paid as a dancer in the company was not enough to sustain you.
Pennies, yeah. So it was a really difficult time in my life, but I worked so hard. I remember really distinctly a time I was going through purses to try to get coins together and what cash I could to be able to eat that week. And, all while dancing in a professional company, and you have to just figure it out and make it work. And my desire to dance was so strong that it surpassed all of the, challenges that I had to overcome.
So you danced in Seattle, but then I know that you also went on to work with Bruno Mars. You were on Glee, Ariana Grande, and recently Lana Del Rey. Yeah. And so can you tell me, I don't know which one you want to choose, but I do have a question about Glee. What did you do on Glee? I loved Glee.
I'll send you all the episode.
Okay.
But basically, I was in Seattle. I danced with Spectrum for almost 4 years. I was also an artist with Wim Wim with Olivier Wavers. And then I got to a point, and my hips and my cartilage got to a point where I felt like if I want to do anything else with my career, it's time to leave, because I'm not going to have much left if I keep going at this rate. So I always had bigger dreams of wanting to come back to the entertainment industry and get into TV and film and more commercial work. So I took a little bit of time off. I moved to Portland for a year and a half, almost 2 years. And I kind of turned back into a human. I felt like I got turned into a machine in Seattle just because, again, it was so intense. So I felt like I had to get reacquainted with myself, who I was as a person before a dancer, who's Kylie when you take all the dance away. And so once I got clear with that, I came back to LA to get back into the industry. And one of the first jobs I booked was in Bruno Mars' music video, Gorilla. And it's only, I'm not really dancing, but there's like a 2-second shot of me in it. So you don't even really see me, which I understand. Or, at that point, it's like all you needed was that 2-second shot to finally put it on your resume, because it's like you can be.
Was that one of the first things you booked after Seattle?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that, and then I also did a campaign with Agent Provocateur that Penelope Cruz directed.
Ooh,
oh my gosh.
I love Penelope Cruz.
So incredible. That was such a beautiful experience. But those are two of the first, bigger jobs that I booked when I got back to LA. And then I just always knew there was more I wanted to do than concert dance, which I love. And of course, that holds such a special place in my heart. But I think I got to a point where even though I love live performing so much, I wanted to create art and work that could last forever in the same way that a recording artist and musician creates an album that you can revisit, that TV and a film, you can watch your favorite movie over and over. You can watch your favorite TV show over and over. And so I wanted to be able to give and share my art in ways that could last forever, And so I think that's really what drew me back to LA to continue my path here.
I love that. And you just finished dancing with Lana Del Rey.
Yes.
Can you tell us, there's a story you said you have about that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. So and we can maybe talk about this later, but I sustained a really severe hamstring injury as a result from filming Magic Mike's Last Dance. I was injured 2 days before we shot, somehow got through the filming day, and then was out for a solid 7 months. And then it took me about 9 months fully to really come back.
So that, maybe we should go to that,
Sure.
that conversation. Like,
Yeah.
How do you, so this is an example of honoring dancers, it sounds like. So you got injured while working on Magic Mike.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay. In the rehearsal process, because I saw the movie, especially because you were in it. Most people want to go see Channing Tatum, and I'm like, I actually want to go see my friend Kylie. And you were playing the dancer of Selma Hayek, right?
Mm-hmm. I was representing her in his story to, it was a gesture to her to tell her
that he loved her.
Exactly. And so I was representing her character in the dance.
And I love her so much.
She's amazing.
And was it wonderful? Did you get to talk with her a lot on set? Or
not a lot,
because
but
you
a
were in
couple
different
of times.
scenes.
Mm-hmm. But
Yeah.
she was just the most lovely human, so funny, so real. I loved any time I got to be in the same room as her. Yeah, I was always smiling.
She's always smiling. But I watched even on your Instagram rehearsals, and you were dancing in water. You were sliding in water, and I just have to say, I did the company that I danced in was called Contratiempo, or is called Contratiempo. They're performing soon, actually, here in LA, and we did a whole dance piece in the water around the Mark Taper Forum. I don't know if you did that. You know the water? And it was like a progressive dance. So the audience would move and watch different dance companies. And then, so we do the same dance piece over and over again to different groups of people, because they'd go to the Disney concert hall stairs and watch one dance company and then come back and watch ours. And we were treading water for hours. And I just thought, this is exhausting, but also so fun. But also you have to be so careful because you can get injured. So I was watching your rehearsal process and watched the movie, and I thought, how do you do that? How did you dance on a slippery floor with water falling from the ceiling, which creates this beautiful ambiance, and it's very sexy and wonderful, but at the same time, your safety. So what was that like?
The most terrifying thing. Dancing in water is the most terrifying thing ever, hands down. I actually, the first time I danced in water was in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the season 13 finale with Rob McElhenney. I did Mac's dance, and the episode was called Mac Finds His Pride. And Mac's character is coming out to his father, and so he's doing it through dance.
Oh, cool.
And so my character was helping him tell that story in that scene. And so that was my first experience in water. And that was, my heart's even pounding just thinking about that, because it's like your body you have to look flowy, obviously, when the movement calls for it, but the way that your body has to be tense and your core has to be held so that at any moment, like you're saving yourself, in the water. And I know you get it because you've been in water.
Yeah.
So both of those life-changing opportunities that I've had in my career were two of the absolute most terrifying. And it required absolute trust, both with Rob and with Channing, to be able to get through it. And, I think in both rehearsal processes, there were a couple slips and falls, not many.
With both of you? And when you say Rob, was that the person standing in for?
Rob was the actor for In It's Always Sunny.
Oh, got it.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. One of the creators of the show. And I remember a rehearsal, he was showing me something with Allison, and maybe the water wasn't down, but he did this backflip. Like, she went down, and so to save her, he did a backflip and landed like a superhero just to like compensate and protect her. So, but yeah, in the Magic Mike rehearsal process, I think there was only one really intense fall that we had in rehearsal, and Channing did exactly what it is that you would hope a partner would do. He threw himself on the floor to break my fall. And so, he saved me in that moment. And I'll never forget that. And so we really developed immense trust in that piece. And ironically, people watch that and think it's the sexiest dance on earth. And being in it, it's like there is nothing sexy about it. You don't feel sexy. Your brain is not anywhere in trying to look sexy, even though, you're doing the choreography, but you're just trying to survive and make it through together to the other side.
Because it's so, so intense and so hard, and with all the water on the floor.
Yeah, and there's just so many things that can go wrong, and so many variables like water level, the way that it's pooling every single time we rehearsed that in about the, over 2 months that we did, every single time was different. So
and did you rehearse with him? Because very often I know sometimes certain actors who are stars, they have the stand-ins. So how does that work when you need to do the number with him? Did you have somebody else doing it with you, or were you always rehearsing with Channing?
So I learned the piece here 2 days before we went to London. And so I learned the piece with one of the associates. And then so when I got to London, I already knew it. He also had been rehearsing with Allison, so he knew the whole piece. So the first day that we rehearsed, we both knew everything. So we just kind of went out of the gate.
I didn't realize it was filmed in London. Was everything filmed in London? Oh, nice. That must have been
rehearsal,
fun.
it was incredible. Yeah.
And you were there for 2 months in London?
Over 2 months, like 2.5 months total. Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe even more. I'll have to look. Yeah.
Because constant rehearsals to practice that. And
Okay. And so, the rehearsal process, it couldn't have been more enjoyable. I feel like we had so much fun and we worked so freaking hard. And I cherish every single moment. It was just such a beautiful experience. And again, such hard work. I mean, I would go home from rehearsal and just like sit on the couch for hours and then take my Epsom salt baths and then do it again the next day.
Wow.
But as we got closer to filming, Chan actually sustained an injury, so he wasn't able to rehearse for a couple of weeks. And so the man who was standing in for him to try to help me, because again, in the same way that you wouldn't expect a football team to not practice before the Super Bowl, we were trying to figure out how to rehearse before, this filming day. And 2 days, we shot on a Friday, and on the Wednesday, we were in the space, and I was in this full deep lunge, and the man who was standing in, he slipped, and so I went down with him. And I felt in that moment, I knew right away. I remember I saw, because we filmed everything, and I watched the video, and oof, yeah, I still can't believe that
was he
happened.
holding you?
He had, so I was kind of hooked around his back in this lunge. Like, you can see the actual move in the performance. But I went down and I knew right away something was very, very wrong. I couldn't even touch my toe, which was wild. And so I, went home that day. The PT came, and I just remember I couldn't stop crying. And I thought, what are we going to do? There is no other option. I have to figure it out, because there's no one that can come and save me. There's no one that can come and do this. We've put in too much work. And because he and I had rehearsed, it's not like someone could learn it and, jump in with him because he also wasn't able to rehearse. And so I woke up that morning, again, couldn't touch my toe the day of filming. So everything that you see, I don't know. I still watch it. Excuse me. And I don't know how I got through that day, but I feel like I was able to channel all of the positive love and energy that anyone in my life has ever given me. And just knowing that, film is forever. This is exactly what you asked for. You wanted to create art that will, live on. And so I felt like, all right, if this is the end of my career and I can't dance again after this, then so be it. It's a good one to go out on. So
wow.
That was my mindset going into filming day. And we got through it. And then I got on the plane back to LA the next morning at 8:30 a.m. And then, I was out for a very long time. I was off social media. I went dark and just really had this intense introspective phase in my life where I was just had to totally, rebuild, not only physically, but mentally and spiritually and emotionally and all the things. And so as I healed through that process, again, I didn't know if I was ever going to come back to the full level. And I still feel it now.
So did you have a hamstring tear? What happened?
Tore a little bit. It wasn't like crazy black and blue total tear, and it was very, very high up.
I tore my hamstring in the 100-meter dash.
Oh, God.
When I was that is one of the most painful things in the world, and that you tore it and still dance. You must have some serious channeling that you can do, because I could barely walk, and you did a whole dance piece with a torn hamstring. I think this is what, I just have to pause for a second, because I think this is what people don't understand about athletes and dancers, and dancers are athletes and so on, what it takes to keep going at a certain level. And when it's your livelihood, when you said you went dark, one of the things I have to do as who I am, as being on social media, as part of how I keep things going and keep moving forward. And there are times when I'm like, I just don't want to put myself out there sometimes. I just want to go inward, right? Yeah. How does that work for you when this is your livelihood, and you being out there and showing videos of yourself is how you actually also get work? When you say you went dark, did you put up other things, or did you just not post at all?
Not post at all.
For how long?
I think it was at least 4 months.
4 months. And were you just not working for 4 months?
Yeah, I wasn't working at all. I was
right, because you were healing your body. Mm-hmm. And where were you? Where were you here in LA? Where were you living?
I was actually in Las Vegas with my little sister and her husband. And because I didn't even want to be in LA. And there were so many opportunities that I lost as a result of the industry. I had so much work lined up, and I was really excited for this, what I thought was going to be the next chapter. And then obviously all that changed in a second. And but
when you get injured on a set, and I just wonder, is there insurance that covers you to make sure you're okay?
There was workers' comp. Yeah. I mean, I was on disability until the doctor cleared me to get back to work, which again was many months later.
Right.
But that doesn't account for all of the jobs that I lost that I had lined up,
right? Both
financially and actual work things that, in our industry, everything is connected. So you never know what will lead to what. And so there was a Vegas residency that I had been invited to do, and I was really excited about that. And a couple partnerships with brands that I really loved that I was excited to explore. And again, I lost all of those in one swoop. And because of my mental darkness, I just thought I can't, I'm not even going to revisit it.
And one of the things I want to say about that is, I think for people who have had a career or a life as some type of athlete, the mental darkness, I think, is something that people don't always understand. And different conversation, but when I was in high school, I played basketball and I ran track, and that was my identity. I was an athlete, and that's how I functioned in the world. And also in some ways, that's how I felt like I fit in. And when I tore my ACL my senior year of high school, and I was out for track and basketball that year, I was like, who am I? What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I got completely depressed. I lost about probably 15, 20 pounds. And I was walking around high school acting like, quote unquote, everything was okay, but totally not understanding. I was like, who am I? And I remember when I went on to college meeting a friend who played football and he tore his ACL and was out for the season. And he was like, I don't know, I think of Peanuts, the little guy who always has a cloud over his head. Well, that's like a dust cloud. That was a dirt cloud. But it was almost like having a cloud over his head because he was like, you lose a sense of identity, I think. And when that's who you are, it's a big thing. It's very big. So it's wonderful that you were able to come back from that. And shifting for a second, I think you also, when did you start this lingerie line and how did I not know you had one and how can I get some? Look, I go from the dark to the lingerie, darling.
I should have brought that too.
I know.
Next time.
Is that something that came out of this? Like, did it come out of a dark time and like, I'm going to do something different? Like, where did that come from?
I love that you brought that up. Oh my gosh. So Flangerie by Kylie Shea.
Yeah. Oh, it rhymes.
It was a series of feathered lingerie bras that I created actually in my time in Portland when I wasn't really dancing and I had taken a break from the professional, I was still taking class and whatnot, but I was just trying to be human, most of the day. And so I watched, I remember Runaway, the film, and the actress in the beginning of that film has she's a phoenix and it's all feathered bra thing. And I watched that and I said, oh, I want to make one. And then I made one, and then I made two, and then I made three, and then I made a whole collection. And then I submitted for Raw Artists, which was, like a little indie organization that celebrates artists of all different kinds. And I entered a competition, had a little fashion show. And yeah, I haven't really kept up with it. I'll still make them here and there. And then I've worn them. I actually wore one of the pieces in my street crossing video in my tutu. So I love that. I'm wearing one of my bras. I think most people don't know that, but
I love that whole street crossing in your toe shoes. Are you in New York City?
Mm-hmm. And I'm wearing, so my tutu, this is a good story. My tutu's name is Fifi.
I love that your tutu has a name.
And she was named by the fabulous costume designer from the film, Magic Mike's Last Dance. And Christopher, I went in for my first fitting and they said, can you bring your tutu? Because I bring my tutu everywhere. And so I walked in and he looked at me and he looked at the tutu and he looked at me and he said, oh, honey. And he was like, who is that? And I said, well, this is my tutu. And he said, she is full of secrets. She's seen it all.
Wow.
So he graciously took Fifi and gave her a wash and a little facelift and some adjustments. And then I actually wore her in my ballet scene in the film, but he named her Fifi right away. He said, well, that's Fifi and she needs my help. And I said, yes, she does. So thank you, Christopher.
Oh my gosh, I
Fifi
love
got
that
her name.
Story. He's such an empath. He's like, I feel that this outfit has gone through a lot. Everyone has their gift. Some with clothes, some with people, some with dance, some with sport, whatever it is. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So Fifi and then Flangerie crossed the streets of New York. And that moment actually really changed my life as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And also you talk about body image, and that's really important for you. And I know that with dancers, especially professional dancers, I have friends who went on to do a lot of different styles of dance, and they were, especially ballet. And one of my friends who happened to be a guy from college, he talked about being weighed in all the time and actually being encouraged to smoke to curb his appetite so he would keep his weight down. And I'm thinking, there are eating disorders that happen with all human beings, male, female, however people choose to identify. And then as dancers, there's a whole nother level of how you have to look, how you have to show up.
Yeah.
So how have you dealt with that? And I know you've dealt with eating disorders.
Absolutely.
Can you share a little bit about that? And also, do you have any words of advice for young people or older people who are dealing with that?
Yeah. I thank you for asking that. I've loosely shared on social media some of my struggles and, been really open there. And
you have a piece where you're in kind of nude clothes and you're kind of like touching every part of your body.
Yeah.
Like rubbing it, like there's a whole conversation going on in that piece.
And that actually was born. I was in New York. I did a Broadway show with Michael Moore, a limited run. And, you know, on my one off day of the week, I would always go to the studio and just have a creative session to check in with myself. And I went with the idea. I had actually, I think the week before, done one of my point twerking videos where I'm on point and
yes, this is how you bring that movement out, right? You bring the movement.
It's like she's in toe shoes, but then she's also doing what now?
Yes.
So, but I had just done a series of videos like that, and then I went to the studio, and so I had something more in that line in my mind. And then when I got there, just my spirit and my energy that day was so different. And I looked in the mirror. And I just felt like I've been working so hard. I've been training so hard. Why am I gaining weight? Why, you know? And I don't even know that I did gain weight at that point. Again, I think body dysmorphia is something I have absolutely had probably my whole life. I also...
when you say body dysmorphia, do you mean you look in the mirror and you see something different than what everybody else sees?
100%.
Okay.
And I still struggle with that today, being completely honest. You know, I think it's a choice, and that waking up or looking in the mirror and saying, you know, I'm really proud of you. You have overcome so much, and you are doing the best that you absolutely can in taking care of yourself and having fun and working hard and just flowing with life. And, you know, thank you, body. Sometimes at night as I'm going to bed, I'll say, thank you, little heart, for beating, you know, thank you for my brain for working so hard, even though some of the thoughts that you give me are very intrusive. I still thank you, and will just kindly ask those to float away. But I think the body dysmorphia started when I was a teenager, absolutely, which I think, unfortunately, it starts for so many dancers. I also developed bulimia in high school, and that was a very private struggle. You know, a couple of my close friends knew, but I was really, really good at keeping it hidden. Even
from your family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even into adulthood, it's something that unfortunately followed me at different phases of my life. And, you know, having little relapses here and there would absolutely still happen if I felt like I overate, or, you know, it became this really unhealthy tool that I had to work through a lot of therapy to understand that I didn't have to hold shame about that, and feeling shameful about that was not the way towards healing. So I'm grateful to now be in a place that the bulimia is no longer a part of my life, but it was really intense for so many years. And so, you know, I think the body dysmorphia is maybe the lingering effects of that, because also how much that messed up my metabolism and just my body's ability to process and regulate, you know. So
do you eat a certain way? I mean, when you think about being a dancer and being an athlete, is there a way that you now eat to maintain where you want to be? Because you also have to have so much strength to do what you do, which takes energy, which you have to eat. How does that work? How do you, what's your eating regimen? How do you do that? Or what does it look like?
That's also been a total learning curve, and depending on what I'm training for, it's been all over the map. I'm currently a vegetarian. I had a time in my life where I was vegan, so totally vegan. And then I grew up eating a lot of meat, you know, high fat, high protein diet is how I was raised. And then later in life, I switched to vegan for a little while. I tried that, and I felt like my body loved the nutrients from dairy and from eggs so much that was a really big staple in my life. So I'm now vegetarian. I don't eat meat. But I still am learning, and I feel like the way that I eat, I try to lean more into the intuitive eating. Obviously, if I'm getting ready for a shoot, like I did something at the end of June in New York that's coming out very soon, I'm excited. But in preparation for that, I would eat way less carbs, you know, just more high protein and vegetables, and not introduced, you know, too much bread or rice or anything like that.
Speaking of bread and rice, two of my best friends.
I know. Same.
I know, right? Bread and rice, two of my best friends. And ice cream, but we won't go there. tell me about your background, because in your ethnicity, because certain cultures, bread and rice is a huge part of the culture in food. And you said you grew up with a lot of protein. So tell me about your background.
So my mother is Italian and Lebanese, and my father is a mix of many beautiful things: Welsh, Austrian, little Native American, Greek. So we're just a big melting pot of cultures, which I love. And so, yeah, growing up, my father manufactured gym equipment, still does. And so, we grew up having protein shakes as young babies and, learning about weight training. And I'm really grateful just the way that my parents introduced the idea of health, and healthy eating and clean. Like, we didn't have high sugar juice or cereals, all of those sugary things. I remember at school I would trade people my carrots and peanut butter for their fruit snacks. But now I'm, as an adult, I can look at that and say, thanks, Mom.
Yeah. All of your siblings, I know have accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
You're all high achievers.
I think we all were born from a bloodline of just go-getters, and we've all had really big dreams, I think, since we were little, and we all have artistic hearts, even my parents. But my brother is an incredible artist and graphic designer, and is actually one of the co-founders of Grindr, which changed the world.
Yeah.
Scott changed the world, and I am in awe of him every single day, and he's now pursuing his life as an artist, and I'm his biggest fan. And I share often on my social media. It's also my lock screen on my phone, on my computer, on all my devices. But it's a little heart that says, "You are not alone," with a little guy standing there. And the idea of that really, it's my favorite thing ever. So I'm my brother's biggest fan. And then Shannon, she is also just one of the greatest humans on the planet. And she's an incredible artist, a dancer also. She obviously did ballet. She also does belly dancing. And she's now the director of communication at Sports Research. And she's just a superwoman.
She did all those fitness competitions.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Is there anything she doesn't do? I don't think so.
And I remember she used to take you to ballet classes. Isn't she the one who would take you to ballet classes when you were little?
She took me to my first class with my teacher, actually. I remember. And in my children's book, which I brought today, we can talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
But Shannon is the one that took me to my first class with my teacher. And obviously that changed. That's why I am where I am today. And then my little sister also is an incredible artist, but she's
a teacher too.
She's a teacher. She taught preschool. She did Teach for America. And then now she's just working with the government in early childhood education.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So, no underachievers in your household.
Yeah. Oh, and then my oldest sister, who lives in Sacramento, also has this incredible business that she's grown to. I'm so proud of her. She has a glamping business. And so she curates these incredible
glamping trips for people. We got
to go.
I'm so down. I love being outside in nature, but and I can do the tent, and I can do it, but the glamping, I feel like it would help my body a little bit more, right? I don't know. That sounds amazing.
We can be grounded outside, and then we can come into our glamp.
Right. Oh, I need to know more about that. We'll talk about that more. But speaking, tell me about your children's book, and can you show that to everyone? Because I know you brought it.
Oh my goodness. Well, okay. First of all, this ring right here, this little windy one, is a ring from my ballet teacher, and it's the last thing that her mother gave her before she passed away. And
your ballet teacher gave you a ring that her mother gave her, so you were pretty much like her daughter.
Yes.
Wow.
And she gave it to me my senior year of high school when I quit dancing, because I said, I'm done. I want to be a regular high school student, and I want to go to dances, and I want to go get coffee, and I want to go to the movies every once in a while, and I want to be able to go to the mall and just be what I thought was a normal child. And so I said, I'm quitting. And she said, okay, you'll be back. She was right. It didn't take long, maybe 6 months. I was still dancing in the high school dance team, but I had quit the ballet company, the outside ballet company.
This was here in LA? You were. Where did you go to high school?
Peninsula High School in Palos Verdes. Yep.
Oh, very cool.
But yeah, so this ring, she gave that to me then. And obviously she's everything to me. So my first tattoo, I don't know if you can see it, but save your tears for the stage.
I love it. I want to lift my leg. I mean, yeah. Save your tears. Your feet just naturally arch like that. Did you train them to do that? Sorry, I'm so distracted, but I'm just like, save your tears for the stage.
So, but side note, my feet come from my mother.
And she has very high arches?
She does, yeah. So I was absolutely born with these feet. Thank you, Mom.
Because some people just can't even be on point because their bodies can't do it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, there's ways to stretch and work and increase the mobility in your ankles. But obviously there is, to a point, your body structure is your body structure. And so for me, the biggest challenge has been to gain the strength in my ankles. So, because my feet
have flexible feet.
Yep. So for me, it was really the opposite thing of gaining control. So lots of sprained ankles when I was younger, and even just running around. It wasn't even in dancing, just running and not having stability, which is why the balance trainer now on the Bosu really changed my life.
Oh, and I've watched you do that. You're balancing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's incredible. Mm-hmm. Okay, sorry. Back to
your
your book.
Question. Sorry. Yes. So this is my children's book, Save Your Tears for the Stage. And here, I'll get to you if you want to look.
Hold it. Yes.
So Save Your Tears for the Stage. And the book kind of goes through this story, but it's something that my ballet teacher said to me when I was 8, and I was really, really shy, despite what people see on social media and the way that I share there. I'm actually an introvert, and I'm pretty shy, and I'm pretty reserved, especially in big crowds of people. I kind of keep to myself unless,
Your voice is your dance.
Dance is my first language, 100%.
Yes, I saw that. You said that in one of your interviews, or I read that about you. Dance is my first language, which I totally, I get that.
And this is a little off topic.
Oh my gosh.
But when I was coming back from the injury in 2022 into 2023, the hardest part was not being able to dance, because dance is how, it was therapy for me. And that's how I would regulate and figure out my emotions. It's how I would ease my nervous system. It's how I would connect and just move the emotion through my body. And when that was taken away from me, that's why I was at such a loss, because never in my life had I had something that totally took me down. So, save your tears for the stage. Now I'm back stronger than ever and dancing with Lana and traveling the world doing what I love, which is such a gift. But
so what does that mean? Save your tears for the stage. This is what your dance teacher would say to you?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the first time she said it to me, I was crying, and she came over and whispered, and she said, don't cry, my darling, save your tears for the stage. Oh my gosh, I said it without bawling.
She's passed?
She passed in 2009. Yeah, she passed of lung cancer, unfortunately. But she was a mother. She was my rock and my everything, absolutely, growing up. And I was her daughter. Anywhere we went, she go, this is my daughter, Kylie. And, we were so close. And she gave me everything. And so everything that I do now is in honor of her and to continue her legacy and just all of the incredible gifts that she gave me. I've been teaching an online Zoom ballet class, a donation-based class on Sundays starting in 2021 that I've really found such joy in. Being able to connect with people all around the world. And I feel so close to her, especially in those classes, because I can hear her, coming through me in so many of the things and concepts that we're talking about as we're training our butts off. But
wow. Can anybody come into these Zooms? How do people find out about that? What's it? Mm-hmm. How does one find your Zoom classes?
I just have an email, ksheaballet@gmail.com, that I'll sometimes share on social media just for anyone that wants to join. And I actually just recently am trying something new with Instagram subscribers to hopefully grow my classes. And, I wanted to try that instead of doing Patreon or any other thing through my website. But I have a strong desire to be able to give and share and connect with people with training with ballet, with conditioning. Sometimes when I'm in public, because I train a lot at the studio alone or at home, and so I'm not always out and about, but anytime I go, to the gym, it's almost, I would say 99% of the time during any given workout, someone's coming up to me and asking me questions, or what are you doing? Or
why do you look like that? How are you so strong? Look at those muscles. Yes.
And so I'm excited. as I'm getting older, and I'm still dancing obviously full time, and I love it so much, but I'm definitely excited about other things that I have going on in my artist career. And teaching is such an art. A good teacher is such an artist, and it's such a gift. So I feel like Save Your Tears for the Stage is giving the gift of everything that my teacher gave me. And so I created this book in 2018. Well, I wrote it in 2016 or 17. And then I couldn't find the right artist. So I thought, naturally I should use my platform and crowdsource art. So I put out a call on Instagram.
Oh, wow.
And so what you're looking at is 74 artists from around the world.
74 artists, because this is what I'm looking at. I'm seeing all these different designs, right? And I'm thinking, where is all this coming? Because it's all different.
It's all different, yeah. Yeah. And so I gave people, I didn't even give them the story. I just gave prompts. For example, a young girl standing in first position, a dancer peering into the class, or, a little dancer.
Look at her little tutu.
I know. That one gets me every time, Bertha. So yeah, I felt like I didn't want to do a traditional children's book because I'm not a traditional anything. And so, this is very on brand for me to just do something totally.
So everyone just submitted their art,
and then,
I made it into a book.
Yeah, I taught myself in design to try to figure it out. I was obviously proficient in Photoshop from photography and whatnot, but in design, and then I had a beautiful woman, Samantha, helped me to really put the finishing touches on it. But yeah, that was
so cool.
The irony that I cried more putting that book together probably than anything I've ever done in my life.
Do you feel like it brought peace, a sense of release?
Yeah, I think it was the first step in the bigger picture of having a foundation in my teacher's honor, creating programs to be able to give back to the community and give access to ballet to people in communities that wouldn't normally be able to, partake, and help support dancers that maybe couldn't afford tights or ballet shoes or just the basics, because, ballet is expensive, let alone classes. So I think this is part of my bigger vision to just really give back, because ballet has changed my life. And again, even though I do all of these other styles, my heart and my core and my discipline and everything that I do comes from my classical ballet training.
I love that.
Yeah.
Speaking of classical ballet, do you know Misty Copeland?
I actually just had dinner with her a couple
weeks ago. The two of you. Would I like to be on a fly on the wall to hear what you two are talking about? How did you two meet?
So she grew up in San Pedro, which is just around the corner from where I grew up. And so I actually remember one of the first classes. I was maybe 12 and she was 14. And I think that Cindy and Patrick, who she was with, had taken her to our studio in Palos Verdes to my teacher. And I just remember a class all together, and I was so young, but that's so clear in my mind. And then, we would see each other at dance festivals and whatnot. And then later in life, we did a show in Cincinnati. It was the International Dance Stars Gala of something in 2011. And so we reunited there. And she's just, again, one of the most phenomenal humans and artists in existence. And it's an honor to call her a friend. And I just have so much love and respect for everything that she does, everything that she advocates for. And I love her beyond words.
Yeah. And what an inspiration, I think, for young girls of color to see
Absolutely.
her and to see you, to see dancers out there doing their dream and have that representation.
Absolutely.
I think that's so important. And before we close out here, can you share, do you have any words of inspiration for young people or any people for that matter?
Yeah, I would say discipline is the foundation of so many things. So in whatever it is that you do, finding the discipline through that practice will really take you places that you didn't know you could go. And on top of that, I think being open to what life has planned, or what life has to offer is also really important. I think we sometimes get so fixated on what our life is supposed to look like or what we're supposed to do. And so shedding all of those layers and just getting being so grounded and in tune with yourself and trusting that the path that you're supposed to take will reveal itself. And I know that can be really difficult, but trusting that all of the opportunities that you are meant to do and that are meant for you will come to you. And so being open, because, you could have had a dream for your whole life and that dream went down in flames, not knowing that from those flames, a dream that is a million times more beautiful than anything you could have ever imagined is there waiting for you on the other side.
I love that. Sometimes when one door shuts, many open.
Absolutely.
And being open to seeing that that's possible.
Always.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Follow her on social media. Tell everybody your social media, please.
My social media is Kylie Shea XO on all platforms. And
Yeah. And check out her book. How do we find your book? Where is it?
Through all of my social media will be attached to it, but it is also available on Amazon. I have a limited amount of hardcovers, but you can, you'll find it on my website or through my socials.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yay. I love you. People.